They gave me the East Library on my third week at the palace. The way you give a person something nobody else wants. Quietly, without explanation, as if the paperwork might draw attention to itself. You'll go in at the 7th bell, the head housekeeper told me. Her name was Dovaris, a tall Valesi woman with ink-silver hair and posture that made you stand up straighter just by being near it. You'll clean. You won't speak unless spoken to. You won't look directly at the occupant. Finished and gone before the 8th bell. The occupant, I said. Prince Saran. She paused just long enough to let that land. He hasn't received guests in 4 months. Hasn't attended court in 6. You are not a guest, you are the cleaning staff. Go in, do your work, leave. Clear? We were clear. I was 43 years old. I had a daughter back home named Petra, 11, staying with my sister while I worked this posting. I'd taken the palace contract because the pay was double what I could earn on the station, and Petra needed a better school, and I was not in a position to be particular about which rooms I cleaned or who sat in them. So at the 7th bell I took my cart, polish, soft cloths, the long-handled duster, a mop I probably wouldn't need, and I went into the East Library. It was not what I expected. I think I had imagined something grand and cold, rows of shelves under vaulted crystal, the kind of room that announces its own importance. The East Library was small, low-ceilinged, warm even from a lamp burning amber in the corner. The shelves were packed close together, and the books on them were not arranged neatly. They had been read, pulled out, and pushed back at angles, some lying flat with markers in them, some stacked in small towers on the floor. Someone lived in this room. Someone spent real time here. He was sitting at the table by the far window with his back to me. Valesi, like Dovaris, where she was composed and upright, he was folded in on himself, elbows on the table, head low, book open in front of him that he wasn't reading, pale silver-blue skin, white hair loose to his shoulders. He was young. Not a child. Young. Mid-20s by human reckoning, which I'd learned meant something different for his people. The grief in his posture had no age to it. Grief looks the same everywhere. I did not bow. I am not proud of that. It was not a statement. I was just tired, and I had been told I was not a guest. And something in me took that literally. I simply started working. I dusted the nearest shelf. I moved to the next one. My cart has a small wheel that clicks when it turns, and in that quiet room it was embarrassingly loud. There was nothing to do about it. I polished the brass lamp fixture near the door. I straightened a stack of books that had tipped. He didn't move. He didn't speak. Neither did I. I was almost done. Maybe 10 minutes of work. The room was not large. When I realized I had been humming, I do this without noticing. It was a song my mother used to sing, nothing special. Working song from her home province. 4 notes that go up and then come down. I wasn't doing it on purpose, and I stopped the moment I heard myself. In the silence after, he said without turning, "Don't stop." I didn't know what to do with that, so I kept working, and after a moment I started humming again quietly, just under my breath. When I left at the 8th bell, he was exactly where I'd found him. He hadn't looked at me once. The second visit, 3 days later, I brought broth. This was not authorized. There was a kitchen 2 floors below, and I knew one of the cooks, a woman named Pell, who gave me a sealed cup of plain broth without asking why. I set it on the corner of his table when I came in. He looked at it but said nothing. I started cleaning. Halfway through, I heard him pull it toward him. I kept my eyes on my work. When I left, the cup was empty. The third visit, he spoke to me. Not much, and not right away. I had been working for 5 minutes when he said, still not looking up from his book, "You're human." "Yes," I said. "You're not afraid of me." I thought about that honestly. "I'm a little afraid of getting fired," I said, "but not of you." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Everyone else is." "That seems exhausting," I said. "For both sides." Something shifted in his posture then. Not quite a laugh. The body memory of one. The shape of it. He told me after a while that his name was Saran. I told him my name was Marisol. He repeated it slowly. The way you do when a word is new to you and you want to keep it. He said it correctly on the first try. I mention this because in 3 weeks at the palace, I had met exactly 2 people who had done that. Most gave up after the first syllable and called me Murray. We talked, that visit, about small things. Books on his shelves. He had a section of human literature, which surprised me, and I asked about it. He said he had started reading it 6 months ago. He didn't say why. I didn't ask. His mother had died 8 months ago, and I didn't know that yet. But I know it now, and I understand why the why was one he couldn't answer. I left at the 8th bell. At the door I paused, because I had forgotten to polish the lamp by the window. The amber one. The one that was always burning. I went back for it. "You forgot something," he said. "Just the lamp." I polished it. It took 2 minutes. "No one ever comes back," he said, while I was doing it. His voice was careful and flat. The way voices get when they are carrying something heavy and have learned to carry it without showing the weight. They finish and they leave. No one has ever come back into this room for any reason. I didn't know what to say to that. Finished the lamp and I put the cloth away. "I'll be back Thursday," I said. "Same time." He nodded, very small, and he was still looking at his book. But he nodded. The trouble came on the 5th visit. Doveras was waiting for me in the corridor when I came out. Beside her was a court official I didn't know, in formal clothes, with the expression of a person who has found an irregularity in an audit. "You have been alone with the Crown Prince," the official said. "I'm the cleaner," I said. "That's the job. You have been bringing unauthorized items into the room." I thought of the broth cups. "Hot broth," I said. "From the kitchen I cleared it with the cook. You are not authorized to bring food." He was thin, I said. He wasn't eating. I said it simply, because it was simple. A person wasn't eating. I had access to a kitchen. It seemed like a solvable problem. The official stared at me. Doveras said nothing, which I had learned meant she was thinking. "You'll be reassigned," the official said. I nodded. I had expected something like this eventually. I thought of Petra and the school fees, and whether reassignment meant the same pay or different pay, and I was running through this practical arithmetic when the door opened behind me. Saran stood in the doorway. He was dressed, formally dressed, first time since I'd known him. A long, pale coat with the silver thread detail at the collar that I'd seen on portraits in the main hall. He looked like the Crown Prince. He also looked like a person who had decided something. He looked at the official. He said, in a voice that was very quiet and very even, "I will not accept a reassignment." The official began to say something. Saran said, "Name is Marisol. Not Mari Marisol." He said it exactly right, the full 4 syllables, the softs, the way my mother said it. She is the only member of this palace staff who has said it correctly, and she has been doing her job, and she will continue doing it. Then he looked at me, not past me, not near me, at me, directly. "Thursday," he said. "Thursday," I said. He went back in. The door closed. I stood there in the corridor with my cart, and Doveras looked at me for a long moment, and then she looked at the official, and she said, very calmly, "I'll update the assignment sheet." I pushed my cart down the hall. The little wheel clicked at every turn, loud in the quiet corridor. I didn't feel like I had done anything remarkable. I had cleaned a room and brought a cup of broth and come back for a lamp I forgot. I had learned a person's name and said it out loud. I did not understand, then, what it costs to be in a room where no one stays. I am starting to understand it now. Petra called that night. I told her I'd had an interesting day. She asked if I'd made a friend. I thought about it. "I think so," I said. "A sad one who is maybe a little less sad. Those are good ones to make." She said that made sense to her. She is 11. She is often right.